The night was quiet. Anita sat on the edge of her bed, her face heavy with worry. She kept turning her fingers as if afraid to speak. "Ekene," she said at last, her voice soft. "I think I made a big mistake." Ekene, who was reading a file by the table, turned to her. His eyes grew sharp. "What mistake, Anita?" She looked down. "When I was still with Unoma, I gave him some of Daddy's company documents. I did not want Daddy to see them then. I thought they were safe. But now, I am not sure." Ekene's face became strong. He moved closer and asked, "What kind of documents?" Anita's voice shook. "Shares. Papers that show part of Daddy's company. I thought Unoma would keep them. But Ekene, what if he uses them?" For a moment the room went quiet. The ticking wall clock was the only sound. Ekene placed his hand on hers and said firmly, "Do not fear. Whatever Unoma is planning, I will stop him. But you must be strong." Anita looked at him with tears in her eyes. Deep inside, she knew trouble was near. Later that night, while Anita tried to sleep, Ekene's phone rang. He stood up quickly and walked out to the balcony. Anita, curious, rose from the bed and tiptoed to the door. She stopped and listened. "Yes," Ekene whispered into the phone. "Watch him well. Tell me when he makes a move. I must know everything." Anita's heart beat fast. Watch who? Make what move? She pressed her back against the wall, afraid to be seen. A few minutes later, Ekene ended the call and walked back inside. When he saw Anita lying on the bed, he smiled gently, as if nothing had happened. "Go back to sleep," he said. "Tomorrow will be better." Anita forced a smile, but her mind was not at peace. She closed her eyes, yet her heart asked questions she could not answer. That night, as Ekene slept, Anita whispered to herself, "I must find out the truth. If he won't tell me, I will follow him, even if it leads me into danger." 2 days later, Ekene came back home looking tired. Anita noticed his face. She quickly closed the door and asked, "Ekene, please tell me the truth. What is happening?" Ekene sat down, breathed deeply, then said, "Unoma is planning something dangerous. He wants to sell your father's company to some foreigners." Anita's eyes opened wide. She held her chest. "Jesus, that company is Daddy's life. If Daddy hears this, he may collapse." Ekene touched her hand gently. His voice was calm but firm. "Don't worry, Anita. I placed someone close to him. They are giving me information. I will stop this before it is too late." Anita shook her head, tears running down her cheek. "But why, Ekene? Why is Unoma doing this to us?" Ekene looked at her. "Because greed has no shame. But listen, promise me one thing. You must stay strong, no matter what happens." Anita wiped her tears slowly. "I trust you. But Ekene, please don't put your life in danger." Ekene forced a small smile. "If danger is the price to protect you and your father, then I will pay it." Anita's heart beat hard. She held his hand tighter, afraid of what might come next. That night, in a hotel hall in Enugu, the lights were low. Unoma sat at a round table with 2 foreign men in suits. His face was full of pride. He pushed some documents across the table and said, "These papers give you control of Odogwu Transport. Once you sign, the company is yours." The foreigners looked at the papers, smiling. Suddenly the door opened. Footsteps entered slowly. Everyone turned. It was Ekene. He stood tall at the door, his eyes sharp. "You are wasting your time," Ekene said firmly, his voice strong enough to fill the hall. Unoma jumped to his feet. "What are you doing here?" The foreigners looked confused. One of them asked, "Who is this man?" Ekene walked closer, his eyes never leaving Unoma. "I am the one who will not let you steal what does not belong to you." Unoma's hands shook, but he tried to act bold. "These documents are mine. You cannot stop this deal." Ekene's lips curved into a small smile. "Those papers in your hands are not real. The real documents are safe with me." The room went silent. The foreigners looked at each other, unsure of what to believe. Then one of them asked quietly, "If this is true, then who should we trust?" Ekene looked at them straight and said, "Trust the truth. And the truth is that Chief Odogwu has no plans to sell his company." Unoma's face turned red with anger. He banged the table and shouted, "You will regret this, Ekene." Ekene stood his ground, his eyes sharp as fire, but just then one of the foreigners reached into his briefcase and slowly pulled out something that made Anita's nightmare come true. Unoma jumped to his feet, pointing at Ekene with anger. "What are you doing here, driver?" he shouted. Ekene's eyes were sharp and steady. "I may be a driver, but I know the truth. Those papers you are holding are fake. The real company documents are still with Chief Odogwu. You can't sell what is not yours." The foreigners froze. They looked at each other in shock. One of them asked slowly, "Is this true?" "Yes," Ekene replied with boldness. "This man is a fraud. He has no power to sell Odogwu transport." Unoma's face turned dark. He slammed his fist on the table. "You think you are wise, Ekene? You want to disgrace me in front of these men? I will not allow it." The foreigners whispered among themselves, clearly upset. Their eyes shifted from Unoma to Ekene, unsure who to believe. Unoma suddenly became wild. He grabbed the edge of the table, shaking with rage. "I will not let you ruin me," he screamed and rushed at Ekene. But Ekene stood firm, his feet planted on the ground. Just then, two security men stormed into the hall. They grabbed Unoma by both arms and dragged him back. He kicked and shouted, "Leave me! Leave me!" But they held him tight. The foreigners, now angry, tore the fake papers into pieces and threw them on the floor. "We don't deal with liars," one of them said coldly. They picked up their briefcases and walked out without another word. Ekene sighed deeply. The company was safe, for now. But as the security men dragged Unoma outside, he turned his head and spat bitter words at Ekene. "You think you have won today? This is only the beginning. I will come back, and when I do, you will beg for mercy." Ekene's eyes followed him, but his heart was heavy. He knew Unoma was not a man who gave up easily. That same night, Chief Odogwu sat in his living room, his face heavy with worry. Anita sat beside him and held his hand tight. "Daddy," she whispered, "I am afraid. What if Unoma truly sells the company?" Before Chief Odogwu could answer, the door opened. Ekene walked in quietly. He knelt on the floor and bowed his head. "Sir," Ekene said with a calm but strong voice, "the company is safe. Unoma tried to sell it, but I stopped him." Chief Odogwu's eyes grew wet. He stood up slowly, his legs weak, and pulled Ekene up into a hug. "You saved me. You saved my family," he said with a broken voice. Anita's eyes filled with tears. She looked at Ekene with love and pride, but in her heart she feared what Unoma might do next. The next morning, the compound was full of staff and workers. Chief Odogwu stood in front of them, his voice strong, though his eyes still carried emotion. "My people," he said, "today I make a decision that will change this company forever. From today, I step down as the managing director. The new managing director of Odogwu Transport is Ekene. He has shown true loyalty and courage." Everyone clapped loudly. Some shouted, "Congratulations." The compound shook with joy. Anita cried, tears running down her cheeks. She whispered, "Thank you, Lord." Ekene bowed deeply. "Sir, I will never fail you," he promised. But as the staff celebrated, a man stood far at the gate, watching with cold eyes. It was Unoma. He clenched his fists and muttered under his breath, "This is not the end. I will destroy them all." Years went by like the wind. Anita and Ekene now had two beautiful children, a boy and a girl. Their laughter filled the house every day. The police investigated Unoma and found him guilty of forging the company documents in attempt to sell to a foreign company. He was arrested and jailed. Calmness returned to Anita and the family. It was a long battle, but finally joy returned to the family and the company. A marital mistake Anita made several years was corrected now, once and for all, and victory won at last. The company grew bigger than ever. Buses carried people from east to west, and trucks moved goods across Nigeria. People who once laughed at Anita now whispered to each other, "She made the right choice. Look how happy she is." At home, Chief Odogwu, now old and grey, smiled as he watched his grandchildren play. He rested with peace in his heart, proud of the day his daughter chose love over pride. One night, as the family ate dinner together, Anita looked at Ekene and said softly, "You were once just Daddy's driver. Now you are the man who gave me joy." Ekene held her hand and smiled. It was God's plan, Anita. Love wins when money fails. One Sunday evening, the youth in church gathered around. Ekene stood before them, holding a microphone. His voice was calm but full of power. "Never look down on the poor around you," he said. "Some destinies are hidden because of poverty. I was once a driver, but I served with truth and respect. Today, I am the head of a company. Service is the shortcut to the top. If you want success, stand in truth, be loyal, and never betray trust." The whole church clapped loudly. Some shouted, "God bless you, sir." Anita sat in the front row with their children, smiling proudly. Her eyes shone with tears of joy. Truly, their story had become a light for many. Thank you message to audience. My people, thank you for watching this story to the end. Remember, true success comes from service, loyalty, and respect. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to this channel for more powerful stories that will touch your heart. See you in the next one.